Hello, and welcome to our chat today with Al Hamilton, the candidate running for Select Board. My name is Claire Reynolds, and I am a longtime resident of Southborough. It is my pleasure to be here to ask Al some questions so that we can further introduce him to you and let you know more about the issues that he stands on and explain them himself. So with that, we are going to start off by having Al introduce himself, and then we'll talk a little bit later on about why he has decided to run for Select Board. Al?
Thank you, Claire. I've lived in town for 27 years. I moved here with my wife for the same reason that an awful lot of people moved here. We brought our kids here because there were good schools and a nice community to raise them. My kids have all been through our public school system. I now have two grandchildren in our K-8 schools and a grandniece and two grandnephews in our K-8 schools. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in economics from Cornell University and Michigan State University. I spent about 40 years working in consulting and technology businesses, where about 15 years ago I started a small specialized wireless company with a friend of mine. We grew it to profitability, sold it, and then I got to retire. And I've been retired for about 6 years. I currently manage 27 acres of open space in the Pine Hill neighborhood, and that was an excuse to let me buy a tractor. I founded with my wife Diana, we founded the Pine Hill Meadow Garden, where we grow produce which we donate to food pantries, including the Southborough Food Pantry. Last year we grew 3,000 pounds of fresh produce in spite of a terrible drought. For the last 6 years I've been volunteering with Habitat for Humanity. Still haven't fallen off the roof, though I've had plenty of opportunities. And I've served on a number of town committees. I've been a member and chair of the Capital Budget Committee. I've been a member and chair of the Advisory Committee, where you and I serve together. I've been a member and chair of the Town Administrator Bylaw Committee. This was the committee that ultimately got the number of people on the Select Board raised from 3 to 5. And I've been a member and a chair of the Public Safety Building Study Committee.
Certainly a lot of town experience, that's for sure.
Yes.
But specifically, why are you running for the Select Board? I know there's a lot of reasons that people give, but why are you specifically running?
I've got a couple of reasons why I'm running. One is I would like to see if we couldn't lower the temperature of public discourse in town affairs a bit. And I'd also like to rebuild trust between town meeting and the Board of Selectmen. I think it's gotten a little bit out of hand, to be honest with you. I view town meeting as a partner in how we govern ourselves, not as an obstacle to be overcome. Just only a few weeks ago, town meeting expressed its confidence in the Board of Selectmen and the other executive boards by giving them over $60 million in taxing authority. If that's not respect, I don't know what is. And I'd like to make sure that we return that respect with open, positive communications. I want to focus on the basics. Getting those things right, filling the potholes, seeing to it that the roads are plowed, providing effective, cost-effective services, in our community. I have a couple of things that I'm actually particularly animated about. One is sidewalks. I think we need to expand our sidewalk network here. We have a lot of roads in town where it's actually difficult or hazardous for people to walk, and I've seen how sidewalks can tie a neighborhood together. That happened in my neighborhood where I live. I live on Pine Hill Road, and it was a dangerous road to walk on. When a major development happened, a sidewalk got put in, and that really, you meet your neighbors on the sidewalk, and that's a really positive thing. We also have to deal with affordable housing for a variety of reasons. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. The other thing is that, to be on the Select Board takes a fair amount of time. And to do the job well. And the good news is I'm retired and I have time on my hands and I like doing this sort of work. So those are the main reasons why I'm running.
I particularly like the part that you put in about sidewalks, because I live on Main Street, and since they put the sidewalks in as part of the Main Street project, it really does make a difference with walking. And the comment that you made about your neighborhood, it's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I met with the at the senior center with the Dull Men's Club, and they were saying, it's critically important for seniors, just to be outside and to be moving, to get seniors outside and moving. That was I had a very eye-opening experience there, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit more about as well.
So, Al, there are a lot of issues facing Southborough. We all know that. What do you think the biggest issues are that you would like to discuss with the viewers?
Sure. I think there are a couple, and that we don't talk about them very much. So one of them is labor costs. Town government is labor intensive. It has been for a very, very long time. The challenge is that labor is expensive. It's very expensive, and it's getting more expensive and scarcer. We're struggling to recruit people right now. And so I think, and I see that as a 10 to 15 year issue that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to start looking at how we can substitute technology for labor, and in particular how we can use technology to make the labor that we have more productive. And we're also going to have to look at new modes of organization to see how we can deliver the services that we all need in a more cost-effective manner, because labor costs are going to continue to increase. Affordable housing is one that I feel quite animated about. I've seen, how affordable housing can actually help young families who of modest means, and I think we have, frankly, not done what we need to do to meet the goals. And as a consequence, that gives developers tremendous amounts of leverage through the 40B process. We're somewhere between 45 and 75 units behind on our state mandated 10% goals. And so we just have not made enough progress in that area. We have over $750,000 sitting in a fund that hasn't been used, and some of that money has been around for 20 years. And I'd like to actually use that money to put some shovels in the ground and start producing, at least on a limited basis, some amount of affordable housing. Then the last item that, again, we don't talk about it very much, is the change in demographics in our community, and in particular, the growth of our senior population. And this is true all over the country. I know I'm one of them. And that, if you looked at the year 2000, we had roughly 1,700 kids in our K-8 system. And in 2022, we had less than 1,300. So we are not seeing a growth in our young population. By contrast, our senior population is growing quite rapidly. In 2010, something like 11.3% of our population was over 65. Today, that number is approaching 14%. And the demographic projections that I've seen suggest that that trend is going to continue. And that's going to change the mix of services that we as a community need to provide residents, particularly as we help people age in place, which is the most desirable way and cost-effective way to help people age. So those are some of the things that we're really dealing with.
So those are all very important things, and one of the things that I have a question on is, what is your approach to dealing with these?
So anybody who knows me knows that I like numbers. I'm a facts and a data guy, and it's nerdy, but I like sitting down with a spreadsheet, and I like trying to find out what the real truth of the data is in it. It often leads you to fairly clear visions of what a good solution is, but that's the easy part. The easy part is figuring out what you should do. The harder part is bringing people along with you and communicating that, and that's a real challenge. I've often told people that it takes three tries to get something through town meeting if it's a big change, and I think that's true. And so I have a skill. I'm a reasonably good communicator. I listen. I have even been known to change my mind on occasion. And it's the hard work of communicating and building consensus, and that may mean building consensus with other boards. It may mean building consensus with town meeting or with the voters. And those are, I think, that's the hard work, not the actual analysis. Analysis is fun. Doing the hard work is the hard work.
Well, especially since you, in working with different communities and in working with different boards, they're all they have different appointing authorities.
Right.
So you're dealing with people who have gotten into the position that they're in through different means. And the important thing is getting everybody to work together. One of the examples that I can give is now with the master plan and all the goals that we have and the cooperation it's going to get and the cooperation that it's going to actually take for all of these boards and committees to work together in order to achieve the goals. So you've given us a really good idea of what your issues are, and what would you like to leave the voters with?
Well, the first thing is the election is on May 9th at Trotter School, so make sure you go and vote. It's one of the most wonderful things that we get to do in our country, and lots of people don't get, lots of places in the world don't get to do that. So I'm going to ask for your vote because I want to make running the municipal side of government less volatile, hostile, and contentious. I'm not interested in expanding the power of the Board of Selectmen at the expense of town meeting or other boards. I want to listen and respond to the practical needs of our community. And I want to focus on the basics, the dull basics, the fixing the potholes, getting the roads plowed, making sure that our neighborhoods are safe, that our public infrastructure works, and that we deliver quality public services. And I want to do that in a way that's cost effective and respectful for the taxpayers. Southborough is a reasonably well-to-do town, but not everyone in town makes $100,000 and lives in $1 million house. Some portion of every dollar we spend comes from someone who is going to struggle to give us that tax dollar, and that's the standard that I use. I'm going to spend money as if I'm spending their money. It's boring, it's essential, it's what makes good government, and that's what I pledge to you if you trust me with your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.